Where the hell? Where hands go?
Kick him off.
We live. What's good? What's good? What's good? We had another one, but he dropped off. Maybe it's just some technical difficulties. But we're here anyway. We're doing good. How's everybody doing today?
Another day in paradise, you know?
Hey, yeah, good over here, bro.
What's good? It's hot down there in Florida, ain't it?
Hey, listen, man. Something going on with this sun. This is a different sun down here, bro.
I hear you. I hear you. But I don't know if you up to speed. Who is this device not connected? What's not? All right. You can still hear us, right?
Yeah, you good. You good.
All right. So I don't know if you're up to speed on what the topic of discussion is. We're just this is a part 2 from last week on discussing possible resolutions to racial inequality.
Okay.
So any ideas that you have that you could throw in there, let's hear it.
Since this part 2, man, just kind of catch me up a little bit with where we at so far and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so the first when we started last week, it was about most of it was education and taking some things out of our history or kind of teaching people. I said teaching people the value of education, like going way down to the level as to maybe to what you call it elementary or middle school, just to teach kids exactly how to deal with each other regardless of the color of your skin. That's the most important thing, because if you ask me personally, I think it's as simple as they don't think we equals, right? So, and it's not because they don't think yet. Most of them don't know that they have that innate in them. They were like from childhood, they've been taught like this color of your skin. If you're this color of the skin, I'm better. You're better than this person. So they have that in the back of their mind. So you have to teach them for them to stop that thinking. And it starts with the grassroots. Like you teach them from the beginning, like, hey, you don't have to do this stuff at a very early age, so that before they grow and they also get kids, they teach your kids. That's what we talked about. I think Anthony talked about.
Pretty much I talked about how education, it was more than just education. It was sitting down having conversation. And I think that's what today I want to hit more on with my perspective on finding a solution. Whenever you're ready to go, actually.
All right. And so where I'm at with the whole education platform is not just school education. I think education needs to come from community leaders. And because you can call yourself a leader, but if nobody in the community knows your name, knows who you are, because you're not setting up a platform, going to the YMCA, going anywhere to go have a lecture, an education lecture to talk about history and the things that, because the things in school that we know they wash the history books of valuable things. So, and we know for the near future, we're not going to get the correct history back in those books. So what we need is those public figures, those figureheads out there teaching in the actual public environment. You could rent out that school hall or go to that church or the YMCA and just go sit and have a chat with some people. And then as well as you can also hear and see the frustrations of the rest of the community. So we can all get on the same page, because when it comes to this whole movement, you got so many people with different ideas of what the movement is about and what's going on and what they're fighting for. I'm sick and tired of hearing about, oh, this is just about police brutality. I'm sick of hearing about, oh, we got racial injustice and all that. But then like we spoke, Haynes, now that they're talking about changing the faces of some boxes and some syrup bottles, now you got people that's mad about that shit, but they're not even mad about the right reasons. They're not mad because the owners of these companies aren't black. They mad because they taking the faces because this face represents X amount of history, or they mad. It's just, there's a lot of stupidity going on. I'm gonna just call it what it is. There's a lot of stupidity going on. And if we had these meetings out in the public with quote unquote these leaders that are supposed to be out there, because I can tell you right now, we got NAACP out here in my city. I don't know a damn person from the NAACP out here in my area. And I think that's bullshit. That's just me. But now, like you said, we can get on to the main topic. So that's my idea of a solution is more public talks and events to educate in that manner. I don't like the school system and the curriculums on what they consider history. I think as Blacks, if we really want change, if we want to really be taught history, it needs to be more than just Martin Luther King Day or Black History Month. Because that seems to be like when the Black community wants to come together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya is on those 2 days. Outside of that, we don't give a damn. Right now, people don't, like we said last week, people only give a damn because this is a fad. Ain't no sports to watch. People ain't got jobs to go to. So right now, this is something to be mad at. Like I said, as soon as sports come back, you identify the political figure, the figureheads in sports and those that are going to drive the movement. Yeah. I'm on the side of we shouldn't need those people to keep the put. No, I got you. No, I got you. We agree. But again, it's literally being in the community, having these educations ourselves.
So I got it. So I have something to say to that last week, which was so when it comes to like political figures and NACP or whatever group they have, whatever. Personally, I don't care about them because
don't forget we got to keep it on solution.
Yeah. No. The reason why I'm trying to say like we have to do. It starts from the house, right? You can start with your next door neighbor when you're having a cookout, then you talk about stuff like that. I remember last week we talked about having those uncomfortable conversations. It's not gonna be comfortable. It'll be uncomfortable, but you're supposed to have it. So you channeling that to like, let's say Mr. X to do that. What if Mr. X is not ready to do that?
That's why you have these public figures out there doing it. Because here's the thing, right now we're live. Right now, we don't have 0 viewers right now. Right now, this is what it is. You may have that individual that goes and rents out that church hall, that school hall, in a YMCA. Nobody shows up. But as time progresses, 1 may show up, 2 may show up, 3 may show up.
That's what it is.
Exactly. That, but you get this is what I'm saying, those figureheads. So having a conversation in the household, because it's so uncomfortable. And like I said, like at the end of last week's episode, I said there's a lot of forgotten about racist shit. There's a lot of forgotten stuff. Some people forgotten about it. Some people were just ignorant to it. Some people had no idea shit like this was even about. And this is when I had brought up the slave patrol. So that's the same thing with maybe families these days. These young mothers, these young fathers don't know a lot of this stuff. So they can't have these talks with their kids. And maybe they don't have their grandmother or their mother or their father to have those conversations. So you have to start somewhere. And it ain't the school, because school ain't teaching you shit about actual history.
So let me jump in here real quick.
Go ahead.
So I think we if we go, I'm gonna just start with the educational component of it since we kind of started there. And then I'm gonna see if we could work our way towards something else. The ancestors always told us to know thyself, right? And so that's that ancient African proverb that say, know thyself. So you ain't finna lead nobody nowhere if you can't lead yourself. Like, you can't educate anybody if you ain't self-educated about who you are. And I think it goes back to this idea of value, right? And so what I've noticed is a lot of people, even some of these kids now, they lack self-confidence and like they lack the value in themselves. And so if I don't see the value in myself, then how am I going to do anything else? How am I going to lead somebody? How am I going to be a part of the movement? Because I don't even see the value in it. And so we got to start at some point, and I agree with you. I think in terms of, you brought up the idea of like teaching at home and stuff like that. When I grew up, I had the elders around me. So my grandmother and some of my homeboys' grandmothers. My mother worked 3 jobs when she was living before she had got sick. And so if we look at this development through time, a lot of mom and dads, whether they're younger now or a little older, they surviving. They ain't even thriving at this point. So if we're in the midst of surviving, at what point do I have time to really even educate my kids? Which is why we all spent, I'm going to speak for me, but I'm pretty sure you all spent a significant amount of time in school. We're going to get 6 to 8 hours of education and then those extracurricular activities. For me, it was band and baseball. For some other people, it was football, track, basketball, whatever the hell it was. So at what point do we get it? And I think, well, let me say it this way. For me, I got it with my band director because he was considered the elder. He was the one that educated us about all these, we'll quote unquote say black issues. He was the one that said, yo, JT, like back in the day, you know, the town was divided by the tracks. And the educators told you at some point you're going to have to compete with the people across the track. That's why they believed in separate but equal. They never really believed in integration. The elders will tell you that integration was the worst thing that ever happened to black people because it decreased their level of competition for them. Like when they educated their own people, they had that dog in them. They knew that like I had to be 10 times as better. But when you got access to that other stuff, when they gave you, you know, integration, you minimize the dog in you. And watch this. Tell me one school tell me one black school that was integrated. They only integrated white schools, from my understanding. So that tells me that the value of education, there was no value in black schools, or at least that's what our counterparts did not see. So it's like, well, we got the good stuff. Y'all need to come over here. No, we want the good stuff just as well as y'all got it. We don't want to come to your stuff. We want our stuff to be upgraded and get the good stuff. So I agree with the educational component. I just think that it's very difficult to even really begin that process when we're trying to survive at this point. We look at socioeconomic status, we look at housing, like it's a compounding issue. So how do we even intertwine that into like us really trying to get the movement going? So
with that, not to interrupt you rudely, but so with that, all of those issues, that's where it gets sticky and trying to find a common ground. Because, well, like you said some 2 weeks ago, you said somebody out there needs to be jotting down a list of what's going on. It took me 2 weeks to actually sit here and say, like, to think about it, you know, he's fucking right. Because the thing is, we got so many various topics that we're supposedly fighting for, that as blacks as a whole, I would love to see, I got two people beside me. I want to see 3 more people walk in my house, and then we all on the same page of what we consider this fight being for. Because until we actually get a list of things for level of importance, for what needs to be taught, what needs to be changed in the system, what we're actually doing, how we're doing it, how we're getting this across, how we're managing it, we're gonna forever be lost because there's no organization. There's no organization. Like I see the NAACP, I see the Black Lives Matter movement, I see all it, but where's the truth going to be illustrated out? Like, you know, to correct the news, correct CNN. Hey, no, this is what we out here fighting for. If you ain't fighting for this, then you need to take your ass back on home. Because don't get it twisted.
Well, let me say this. So when I was reading Dr. Naeem Akbar's book, New Visions of Manhood, and he brought up this concept of these different individuals. So he talked about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He talked about Marcus Garvey. Everybody, and Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. Everybody had a different movement, right? They all wanted, you know, liberation for Black people, but they all had a different approach about the way that they wanted to make it happen. It didn't mean that it was somebody's approach was less than somebody else's. It just meant that they took a different approach about how they wanted to get there. So, and we'll usually use Malcolm X and MLK, for instance. They both wanted the same thing. They just both took different routes to do it. And so we don't always have to agree on whatever the method is, long as we agree on what the goal is. And I think that's the problem when it comes to a lot of us, is that everybody has to be right. Everybody feel like my way is the best way, and that like it doesn't matter what you think, get on my train, the right train, or whatever. Like even this concept about, are we Black, people of color, African American, Moors, Muslim, the Jews? Now, I don't care whatever the hell you want to call me or whatever. You look like me, and I know we get mistreated. We've been oppressed, and they've been beating the hell out of us for years. How do we get past that part of it? Like, you could call me whatever. It's really what I'm going to answer to and how I value myself. And so I don't care what method is going to get me there. Your method may not fit what I want, but I'm gonna take what I can from it. Just like the three of y'all in that room, y'all got three different perspectives, but we all want the same thing. And guess what? All three of y'all got some value that could be added to the table to say, you know what, bro, Marcus got some stuff going on that's decent. You know what? I'm gonna jump in and help him out on this. Marcus gonna say, you know what, bro, you got something over there that's pretty tight. Let me check that out a little bit. It's a little bit different than what I got going on, but I'm gonna check it out. Doesn't mean that you gotta abandon ship on what you got going on. It just means that we gotta honor everybody's journey and their perspective and their approach. Doesn't mean I gotta agree with it. You know what I mean?
Hence the title, agree to disagree. Hey,
yeah.
That right there. That right there. That's what it is. Let me hear you. Let me hear you, Haynes. I know you got something marinating.
Man, I was just thinking, as you all were talking on that list, I think the first priority is policies and laws.
Yeah.
Across the board. You know, just looking at this TikTok video of this young lady, this white young girl, I think she was like 15 years old, talking about, and I sent it to you, Marcus. She was talking about all the stuff that's going on. And I looked at her, I'm like, yo, this chick is absolutely clueless. She doesn't understand the level of difficulty it is for us to gain equality, and not just say the word equality because it's a catchphrase, but to become a doctor, to become a psychologist, to become a counselor, the hoops that we have to jump over in order to get into those fields to help our people, in order for us to own our own businesses, the different policies that are in place that were intentional in being developed, saying, okay, we can wash out people this way. If we put all of these restrictions and boundaries up, then they're going to eventually give up and pursue it. And all too often, that's what we do. You put too much barriers up for us, we're just going to stop working towards it because we don't believe that it's attainable. But for someone that's in her position where mommy and daddy knows this person at this department and they owe them a favor, baby, you don't have to worry about applying for it. I'll just go talk to such and such person and you get your license tomorrow. Or baby, you don't have to worry about going to the state college because I'm a graduate or alumni of Harvard. So I can get you in that way just because my name is on your letter of recommendation. Yep. So for me, it's really taking away that basically where there's rules and regulations that restrict us, but those same rules and regulations do not apply to our counterparts.
You want a fair table, right?
You want a fair table,
exactly.
But and this
I said
it last week, like, if you're gonna fight and you're gonna fuck up some shit to actually get the attention you want. And if you like I said, I know I'm what I call myself. People ain't gotta agree, a realist. And I'm real enough to know you ain't gonna never respect me. If you ain't never respect me up until 2020, you ain't gonna never respect me. You ain't gonna never value me. You ain't gonna ever like me, nor my kin or anybody else that look like me. So, like I said, as long as I can get in the room, which is what I think the fight should be for.
But that's what
I'm agreeing with him. As long as we can get in the room to make these changes. We need to be able to get in the room and with the open mind, like in my opinion, with the open mind, knowing that they ain't gonna never like us in there. They ain't gonna never like us in there. But that's cool. Because the fact is we're gonna be in there. When they people want to buck, our people gonna buck, and they still ain't gonna say what's up because this is what we should be fighting for. It's just to be able, to have the ability to go do something.
This is something real quick, right?
Hold on. But and to that point too, prime example, me working for Accenture out in Baltimore for the National Guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only African American male in that room under the age of 40, but the only African American male in that room. Watching all of these older white men laugh, mock me as I'm giving a presentation on their data that they asked me to do, right? Mm-hmm. I leave that office, my director emailed me and say, well, I heard you didn't present the information. And I had to email her back and say, yes, I presented information, but while I was presenting information, they were mocking me. They were drawing, they were laughing, they didn't pay me no attention based off the color of my skin. And then when I was let go from that position, mind you, my director came from West Virginia, who was a white female, and said, "Do you know what's happening to you right now?" Yeah, I know what's happening to me right now. This is bullshit. This is racism. I see everything that you've done, and it's sitting on their desk. They're not even looking at it. And I know it's not because of who you are, because all this stuff is legit. It's the color of your skin. Fast forward 2 weeks later, everything I sent out, here come the new director of that program, who just picked up everything I did and resubmitted it and got all the accolades for it. So even being in a boardroom sometimes doesn't even make a difference until you can really get to the heart of them and say, you know what? Listen to me. If you don't listen to me, then what do we go next? Like, how do we fix that problem? We can be in the room, we can be the president, we can be the mayor, but our voice is still not heard. So I guess my question is, how do we fix that when we are in those positions? And that we do have that authority to say.
I mean, quiet.
No. I hear. All right. He's right. Go ahead. I hope you say some shit.
No. But no. I'll finish. But that's my thing. Is like we're saying get in the room, but it's not enough to be in the room because we've all been in the room at some point. If you look at all these HBCUs out here, a lot of them are suffering for accreditation. Because each year the accreditation board make it harder and harder for them to retain their accreditation. And even amongst our own community, we look down on HBCUs.
This is why I say in the room, though. Like you good in a second, Anthony. I swear to you. This is why I say in the room. Because if I smack you in your mouth and tell you that I'm gonna stand in this room because you ain't gonna put me outside, you're not gonna make these standards harder for me to meet than any other than the same standards you making it for your own people to meet. Then I'm gonna make us equals. Because I understand you ain't gonna see us as equals. I'm gonna make us equals by not giving you a choice. So when you got people fighting, let them look, like I said, if somebody wants your attention, and we'll say you all nonviolence, and they whoop your ass, and you don't strike back. They think they won, maybe they don't think they won, whatever. They do all kinds of shit. The one way they damn sure go get a reaction out of you is by affecting your money. So if I'm affecting your money, you got to hear me now. Because you need to know, like, look at what is it, June 19th, the whole little flyer went out and said, hey, everybody black, don't spend no money. Not a dollar, not a cent. You seen it, Hardy seen it, we all seen the thing, right? Don't spend not a cent.
Yeah.
Imagine if that shit was really applied. You don't think the entire system would have said, wait a fucking minute.
Let me add this in before we get too deep. So, Rich, to answer your question about being in the room, it's about leverage, bro. Like, you gotta have leverage in the room. It ain't really about like your presence being there, whatever. If you ain't got no leverage, you could just sit outside the door. I talked about this with my brother on Saturday, and Marcus, you just hit on it. There are 3 things that affect people to really make a change. And I just thought about this. It's psychologically, economically, and physically. Those 3 things will make something move. Outside of that, you ain't got nothing. And you just talked about it. Economically, financially, listen, when you down on your last, and you hurt, you can't think straight, ain't nothing adding up. You like, listen, boy, I need to eat, boy. Like, it's rough. And then when you think about it psychologically, think about when a lot of these millionaires, they get down to their last 100,000 and they commit suicide. It's like, bro, you got 100,000 left. Like, bro, we ain't got but pennies in the bank and we ain't checking out. But psychologically, you got them because they can't think straight. Because if I'm down, they 100,000, their last 100,000 is like our last quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you talk about physically. Listen, well, if a joker can't fight and they can't move nothing, listen, you're gonna get it the easy way or the hard way. However you want to do it, that's how we gonna do it. I bet you some change. Just like you said, you punch a joker in the mouth, you get their attention. You doggone right. Break a joker jaw, see what happened. He gonna think about it on the hospital bed while he's trying to get sold up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Like, I'm gonna have to reconsider this. I don't need my right side, bro, too. I ain't trying to be wired up like Kanye through the wire. I need something else. Wait, hold on. Can we talk about this?
Right. Well, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead. I know you got some. Go ahead.
So I think to take this from an individual scale and put it in a much larger scale, meaning our country as a whole, we talk about solutions to what's currently going on to our current situations, which really isn't that much different from, let's say, 70, 80 years ago. We're still fighting over some of the same things we've been fighting over since, the beginning of the civil rights movement. And the biggest issue that I've seen, and this revolves back into finding a solution, is that we got to change the narrative. The narrative right now is my skin color, whether it be light, whether it's medium, whether it's dark. My skin color right now, I'm judged because of that. I'm looked at as being guilty from the day I'm born. I can't walk the street without hearing a car lock, without someone grabbing the purse, someone feeling threatened, someone stereotyping me. And it's a problem. The same problem, again, we've been fighting for. And trying to find a solution is, we can all throw out solutions. But the issue that we have in this country that we have not dealt with yet is the fact that we haven't dealt with past history. We haven't dealt with what the problem currently is. It's easy to throw out a solution, but the thing is, white America, and I say white America not to be racist, not to be prejudiced.
Yeah, it's just a general idea.
Yeah. White America is the people who won the war, who changed history, who rewrote history, and has put fear into the heart of the many in this country. And we haven't sat down to sit there and say all the things that we have done, we as in the people of this country have done to stereotype, to change the whole thought process. When people hear the word black, and I've seen so many tests done where someone sits in a room and you get a few seconds to answer the question. What's the first thought that comes to your mind when you see a black man? And it's amazing the type of crap that comes out of people's mouths. And it's like, people argue about perspective. People argue about scenario, situation based. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you look at the news, when you watch movies, it's always negative. So changing the perspective of this skin color right here, or that skin color, or that skin color, that's the biggest thing.
I just got it. I was like,
I say it with respect, because the most ignorant thing I can hear, and even from my own people, we don't realize in Africa, you can find a blonde hair, blue-eyed African by nature, natural, genetic. You can see a light-skinned African. You can see a dark-skinned African. People don't understand the power of melanin, that we are the only race on this planet that has the ability to have different skin tones. Genetically, scientifically, it has been proven, because of melanin, we're the only ones whose kids can come out with dark skin, whose kids can come out with light skin. No other race, unless you have that genetic trait of melanin in your genes, you cannot do that. But back to what I'm trying to say, the solution is this. You've got people like Medgar Evers, who worked for the NAACP. Mm-hmm. You've got people like freaking Malcolm X, MLK. Let's say the most known people who were killed. Medgar Evers died in 1963 in front of his house, pulled up to his own garage. His wife and his kids saw him die. You got Malcolm X, who died in 1965. 2 years later, assassinated while he was giving a speech, who knew he was going to die. You got Malcolm X, who was assassinated in 1968. All these prominent figures who were fighting for the same thing, when they were still fighting for it to this day, have died because they're trying to change the narrative. They're trying to say, well, education. Well, the thing about education is education isn't equal. It isn't fair, because the same education, you got a kid who's in suburban America versus the kid who's in the slums of New York, of Chicago, California, LA. These kids are years behind on public school to private school because their books, the system stuff they use is a year, 3-5 years old. And so if they graduate from this horrible system, education system that we have, they're far behind. They're missing so much information. And even then, the information that they're receiving it's ignorant. It's lacking information. It's not.
That narrative, though, is challenged. I challenge it because I'm all about, self-responsibility.
Yeah.
we do a lot of shit to ourselves and blame it on other people.
So no, so I don't want to jump into there are issues within our own communities that we have to fix.
Mm-hmm.
We all know this,
and I think my opinion, which I hear everything you're saying, my opinion, we got to start with ourselves.
Well, it starts from the minute that a man and woman sits down. Well, nowadays, the minute that a man and woman, a man and man, a woman and woman decide to become parents and they have a child, from that first day, they need to decide how I'm going to talk and teach my kids. What am I going to teach my kids? Am I teaching my kids to say, hey, because we're white, we're better than them? Or we're saying because all
that's
our differences,
what we already do is black.
Yeah, but as our differences are what makes us great. Our cultural background is what makes us great. And the big problem that we have in this country is when, as a black kid, when you raise, your heroes are white. Anything positive is white. So we look at
depends on your household.
No. I'm saying from this. The minute you turn the TV on, what do you see on TV?
Oh, the figureheads. I got you.
So
your Drew Spears or whatever.
Different.
So in our communities, when we're raised in this country, we're brought up to see all the great figures that we want to achieve and hope to be like are predominantly white figures. And this in the last 15, 20 years, it's been a slight change.
There's a counter to that, because it's the same way you're saying that's the same way a white family can tell you right now, all my kid sees black. My kid wants to be an athlete, and every time he turns the TV on, it's all filled with black people.
Yeah, but
that's the same.
You never see on the news. You never see on the news talking about Howard University, Georgetown University.
But that's it.
All these lawyers, all these dark people graduating.
That's the difference. That's
you
the
only see on
difference
the news that this fool got killed by the cop. But by the way, let's go ahead and destroy. Who controls? 2 years ago, he got locked up.
Who controls the media?
You know who controls the media.
That's the point I'm trying to make. So okay, all right, not to cut you.
I understand, but that affects a child when you grow up and you're told your God is white. The person you sit there and pray to is white.
Okay.
They don't tell you that your people were stripped from a certain land. They don't tell you that our people had our own religious beliefs. They don't tell you that what was done, they used religion as a way to conform, to control.
So, okay. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Right.
Hold up before y'all talk. Either y'all two guys, because like this is why I surround myself with these two, because we can go on for days, for hours, and not care about time. So let me hear from y'all.
JT, it's on you, man.
Man, I'm trying to figure out where to start. Like,
right. It's so much in it. Yeah,
it's a compounding issue, but what comes to mind is I remember my clinical psychology teacher said, what is the three most important things for therapy and counseling? So you would think like, cognitive behavior therapy or whatever. It's 3 R's, and it's the relationship, and the relationship. We ain't gonna get nowhere without a relationship.
Yeah.
Right now, me and Rich cool. Rich hit me up just now and said, hey, bro, I need you to get on whatever. Because we have a healthy relationship, I said, all right, bro, shoot me the information, whatever, I'm on. No questions asked or whatever. And so when we look at this as a collective, like, people don't have relationships with people. Everybody gonna have a different experience, but it's like nobody's really trying to get to know anybody, like to really try to understand like what our experiences are. They can see something, but it's one thing to see something, and it's one thing to experience it and really go through it, and then somebody sit down and talk with you about it. Like talking with my bandit right there about FAMU, everything this dude told me, like I envision this stuff. Like I'm like, okay, so when I'm going to FAMU, I'm like, I'm trying to find these things that he talked about because it was so vivid in my mind. And so I experienced the same things he was experiencing and what he taught me. But it goes back to this relationship. Like if people don't really just try to build a relationship outside of whatever, like, yeah, you might have got mugged by a black person, or a black person try to rob you, or, I done got fired by 2 white women. I still have to build a relationship with the next white woman or whatever. And I'm not saying white woman to be negative, but I was legit fired from 2 jobs by white women. So I have an issue with white women.
Hey, bro. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, like, people fail to develop healthy relationships and really try to understand the experiences. And so when we get to that point of it, I think we'll begin to make the breakthrough. Go ahead, Rich.
I feel like my brother over here. I feel like that was loaded with a bunch of things, but I think the thing that comes to mind as soon as Anthony started speaking was media. What we allow to be portrayed in the media, what we subject our kids to, because we can only teach them so much at home. But when we send them out to school, when we send them out to play with their friends, it's a lot that they're gaining. Just like the study that was done with the little black girl that goes and pick up the two dolls and say, which doll is prettier? And she naturally went over to the white doll and said, this doll is prettier. And I asked her why. And she couldn't explain really why the doll was prettier. It's just because it was a white doll. But that goes to show how our kids are being conditioned outside of our home, and unconsciously we reinforce that same condition in our homes. We put permahead. We are taught that white is right, that you need to be this way, or you need to go to this particular school. Don't go to HBCU because you're not going to get the same education if you go to a state university. And we don't realize we're doing that to our kids, but we do it. And then we oftentimes compete with each other instead of uplifting each other. Like, well, don't talk to him because he went to FAM, or, you can't be around him because he hangs with this group of people. Both of us have educations. Both of us have a master's degree. But because of where I went makes me different from you, even though our skin color is the same complexion. So we're actually embracing the oppression at some level, and we're teaching that to our kids that we're not good enough. If what we need to do, we're still not good enough. So just follow the rules and be this person.
Oh, I hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. So, you guys made me lose my train of thought.
All right, while you try to find that, Hardy said. So back when we were talking about, just like I said, get in the room and doing that to make changes, Hardy said, forget the room, build the building.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, whoever you are. Thank you. Because you brought it up. So I hear everybody. I'm hearing everybody talking about, like, the room, the conversation. Fuck them. Let me start by saying that. Now, for real though, like,
check your feelings at the door.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
I say fuck them. The reason why I say fuck them is, listen, economically we have huge numbers, right? We do have huge numbers. We all agree to that. So we can shake things economically. We have people in places like, as we talked about with sports, we have people in places where they can make moves, where if they want to make those moves, right? I say if they want to, because you cannot force anybody to make those moves, right? These are like, we have a bargaining chip that we're not using. I keep on saying this. We do have a bargaining chip that we're not using. It's either we don't know how to use the bargaining chip, or we don't know that we have the bargaining chip, or we just don't know what we got. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's the sad part of this conversation, right? So if I don't want you in the room, I will make sure that you don't get in the room. You understand that, right? So then guess what? I'm gonna create my fucking room. I'm gonna get a place where I'll be comfortable. So so I got a couple of French doctors, right? One went to Columbia, one went to I forgot the other school I went to. And when we're having a conversation, they go, well, it don't matter where you're from. When you come, you're gonna see the pictures, you're gonna see the diplomas on the wall, but it's what I say is that what counts. It's what I'm doing for you that what counts, right? Yes, I went to this school, I went to A, B, C, and D. If I'm a shitty doctor, at the end of the day, I'll still be a shitty doctor, right? So the most important thing is, like, we have to build what we got. Again, you talked about the leverage. We have the leverage. We have to use the leverage that we have. They don't. It's not. I don't know how. First, let me start by saying, yes, I'm African, right? So sometimes I know, right? Look, oh my God!
Oh my God!
so, like, coming up here and seeing the things that's happened. Obviously, we have our own shit back home, and over here, things are totally different, right? But you see things that are happening, like, oh, what? Why do you need him? Like Anthony would tell you sometimes when we're having a conversation, I go, well, why are you not doing it? And he'll give me an example. I keep on saying why? Because I don't see that's a limitation. To me, it's an excuse. Listen, if you keep knocking at the door and I'm not, and I don't want to open the door, whatever you do, I ain't gonna open the door. So guess what? You figure your own shit out. But we're not ready to figure our own shit out. We keep on saying, oh, we want equal shit. There's a comedian that said it. Said something this morning. He said, "Black people are fighting for equality, whilst white people are fighting for equity." It's a different ball game that we're playing.
That's deep. I don't know where you saw that. I want to see that.
It's a different ball game that they're playing. Okay, you trying to get into the door. These guys want to own the building. So why don't we build the next building by the side? Like that's the game that we have to play. So when we keep on going about all the education, it gets to a point. Listen, if a kid don't want to learn, right? No matter how many modules you're gonna use, they still don't care. They're not gonna learn.
Well, how can you build a building when historically it's happened so many times where people have been
historically, right? Check it out. So historically, right? Historically, these guys have been there, right? They've been. We're not gonna sit here and say they've not. They have, right?
They're two-part detail. Remember, we're trying to figure out solutions.
Yeah, no, but we have to bring out some of the problems so that we can find solutions to the problem.
You're right.
Right. So historically, they've been there. They've been setting things down. Have been like oppressing us from day one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a point like, you know what? Keep oppressing me. I'm gonna figure a way around this shit. And we've been doing all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, though. So you're right. You're right. So but the thing is, since day one, they haven't been. So in history, if you go back in history, right? So the first Africans that came here were not slaves. They were indentured servants. They owned land. They actually owned slaves. They owned weapons. And it wasn't until 1630, Bacon Rebellion. After that rebellion, the first laws were instituted keeping blacks from congregating, from raising the hand towards whites. And then you go into the whole slave codes, and then you go into a civil rights movement. You go into the jail system and like all the crap. The thing is, this is like shit off the damn train of thought now.
No, what you're saying, if I follow what you're saying, you're absolutely right. There's been things that's been set aside. This like you're talking about. Remember talking about the black businessman that upped up the price and you're upset about it. And I told you sometimes it's not him. It's the barriers to entry. I'm gonna set this thing so high that you can get in. You find your $100 million to get in. You can get in, but Lord knows you're not gonna have that extra 25 million to stay afloat. The only reason how you can stay afloat is increasing your price to a certain amount. And once you increase your price, people are not gonna buy it, so you're gonna drop. So you gonna
I was just about to get you right there. All right, so check me out. Well, what you saying, bro, is like I hear everything you're saying. My biggest standpoint is from where I'm sitting at. We more against ourselves than we are for ourselves.
Because we make
it ain't no because behind it, except for the fact that we fucked up. Because of look at Wall Street, Black Wall Street,
Tulsa, Oklahoma, burnt down, jealousy.
It was after being raided by the white man over some bullshit. So here's my thing, though. This is why I said, if you want it bad enough, you go find a way to get it.
That's what I've been saying.
So I got you. For me, that's force. Fuck this little political shit that people want to do. This is force. If you want it, go get it. Don't take no for an answer. Because even after all this is said and done, like real shit, let's today, right now, all five of us in this room, but really on the stream. Can we all agree or disagree on the fact that literally by next month, when sports is back up, half the people that's out, 75% of the people that's out there right now ain't gonna give two fucking rats ass what's going on today.
I said
I agree. We got bills to pay.
So with that, if Black Wall Street was a real movement, like this was something that we were really trying to get back and establish, those that have died for what we have today, which we spoke on the 2 streams ago, which is, are we sellouts? And on my point of view, is every single one of us is a sellout when it came to those who died for us and what we've rolled over and have accepted abuse from, to today, to now we're finding problems because it individually affects us. If it doesn't individually affect us, 9 times out of 10, you don't give a shit.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. And that's a huge problem. Like I love the topics, you know what I mean? We talk about, the mental illnesses going out there, the systematic illnesses and what's going on in people's head, what you're raised to believe. I love all of those. But more biggest thing, like for me, it's if you want that shit, you go look, when you ain't got $1 and you got 4 miles at home to feed, and it's me or you, and you see I got the $1 that you need to go feed them 4 miles at home. What you gonna do?
Machete.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying. But anything, we're not African. This is where we are when we look at the justice system. When we look at reform, when we look at our social standards. What you said is how people think of us, how we're portrayed. So you got half of us want to be portrayed as good people. Oh, we're good. Black people, we're nice. We're not angry people like to think we are. We're not violent like people like to think we are. This whole night is like, okay, that's what got us in this shit. It's because we ain't fighting back.
No, hold on a second. I'm gonna say something. Yeah, everybody knows the mafia and the Yakuza.
Well, no, I want to say.
Let me say something real quick. Like the mafia.
We gonna
go ahead, bro.
You done froze. Rich with his bad.
I guess I gotta speak. Right. So the story of the Yakuzas and the mafias, right? Mm-hmm. Very nice people. If you go to Japan, awesome people until you fuck them up. Okay, so everybody have that tendency.
No, until you fuck with them, not fuck them up, because they're not gonna give you the chance to fuck them up.
You get what I'm saying. Until you do something that messes with your money or anything like that, then they're gonna fuck you up, right? So the problem that I see here is we don't know what we're fighting for. It's a lot on the table, right? There is no streamline. There's no A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. This is what we're doing.
The whole head taking notes, like you said. Gotcha.
Check. It's not. You know what's funny? Yesterday there was this comment. There was this guy that I forgot where I listened to it, and the guy said, and it struck me. He mentioned George Soros. I don't know if anybody have heard a conversation about George Soros. So he's a hedge fund manager. He's a billionaire, right? Apparently he doesn't like Trump. So now they're equating George Soros to be the founder. He's the one going around instigating people. Because remember they said all the looting and the fighting with Black Lives Matters. The people are not from the area. They're being funded for them to come to the area to cause a commotion. And guess who they're saying as
paying them or supplying?
Paying them supply. So what they're doing is they're changing the narrative of the whole thing. And it's easy for me to do it if you don't have something to stand on.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter.
You're fighting against conditioning.
Yes.
That's what we're fighting against. We're fighting against classical conditioning. It's like the elephant that's staked down. This elephant can literally rip the stake out, but years and years of conditioning to be told that you can't do this, or if you do it, this is going to happen to you. That's why I mentioned those 3 cities. Tulsa, Oklahoma, burnt down. Tuskegee, Alabama, the syphilis experiment. You got Rosewood, Florida, burnt down. These are all places that we build up. It's our own business, our own enterprise. It wasn't just, these few cities, but they were like cities across America that was Black-owned, built up by Black billionaires, millionaires, but they came in, burnt them down, and after you become Jewish. You just kind of fall victim to the system. You don't feel like you need to fight anymore, because when we do have something, guess what they do? They come in, they burn it down, they destroy us, they kill us, and then we're supposed to be okay with the little bit that they do give us afterwards for that thank you that the president may come on like he did for Tuskegee. It took Bill Clinton to come on years after the experiments was over to say, I'm sorry that this had to happen to you all. We will give you some land in Tuskegee as an apology when so many Black lives were lost. So when you build it, we're taught we can go and build a building, but they're going to come and burn the building. So how do we stop them from burning what we're trying to build?
So yes, if you let's face fact, right? You have a $50 million company, right? I have a $50 million company. We're all trying to move forward. We all know about corporate espionage. I can send him in I can send him as an insider and come mess up your shit up, and then I take over, right? You don't expect to have something that is going to interrupt this business and expect it to go smoothly. No, it's not going to happen. Just an example, Colin Kaepernick. What he was doing was 100% right. Obviously, it's now everything is showing now that what he's doing is right. But we're not going to make you mess up a multi-billion-dollar industry like the football. So we're going to blackball you. Obviously, they did it. It worked. That is what is going to happen. We have to protect ourselves against things like that. If we sit down and think that they're not going to do stuff like that, then we're being childish and stupid. Again, as I started by saying, they've showed you from the beginning that, hey, man, I don't like your kind out here. Even though I can sit here and laugh at you in the classroom, I don't really like you that much. The same way you can't say nigga in front of me when you go to the house. I'm pretty sure when you listen to the music, you be cursing at me and say all kinds of shit behind me.
I love asking white boys that. Hey, you say nigga in your car? Like I love that shit. Like, no, like, I know you don't skip it. Like this. Like,
so, but about people kind of like being put into these certain organizations to destroy it. They've been doing that since civil rights movement.
But they
Wait,
No, seriously though. They actually had anti-civil rights people who were paid by the FBI to go into NAACP, to go into certain organizations. They were paying these pastors, who were pastors, preachers. They were people who were just going to meetings to write down what they saw, to let them know that they were going to go and do this marching, and they did this to have upper hand on what was going to happen, and to also persuade.
Yes.
So as I said, they've been doing this
exactly
for years.
They're doing that.
The worst thing in it, though, the worst thing in it is our own people that are doing this against our own.
I'm about to drop a name. Candace Owens. She's a perfect person that is being used to do this.
Maybe hurt my mother.
No. Check it out. I figured it out, right?
She's conservative black. She's ignorant.
No. She's black. She's all about Republicans, right?
Yeah, she's conservative black. Yeah.
It's the best person to get to fight against you because she's you. So you can't call her racist because she's one of y'all. Now I'm gonna let her say whatever I have to say to counter what she's saying. You good?
I'll be all right. No, I'm listening to this bullshit.
No. I'm just what I'm saying. No. Check it out.
How long in history have blacks been on the side of Democrats versus Republicans?
I don't give a shit about that, bro.
But if she's on a
warrior.
No. What I'm saying, I'm just saying right now, this is what they're doing, and I'm giving an example to what they're doing.
I'm listening.
And it's so obvious that right now we can't go.
You got 7 minutes.
Okay, we can't go toe and toe with her because it's like, oh, you fighting your own kind. So you mean, guess what? They already divided among themselves. So it's like a well-oiled machine. They have us on the hook. They will always find somebody like that to talk about the stuff that they want to talk about. So they come in and infiltrate your own system and mess it up for you. That's exactly what they're doing. So that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that, it will happen. And you have to find a way to actually go against stuff like that. Because if
you just got to have what's called balls. Because the fact is that since we've even came up with the idea of doing this, you don't know how many people that have literally told me, all right, look, Camp, I'm going to exit your life right now because of the fact that I feel like you are against our own kind. I say, why? Because I'm calling us out on our own bullshit. So if that's the reason, then you're more welcome to leave. Then you shouldn't even been here to begin with.
So that's the problem I do have. I agree with that. Is because we're easy. It's easy for us within our community to say other people are racist, but we don't come out and say that we are racist to our own people. And I say it's because I'm from Virginia. I'll say Virginia, borderline between Virginia and North Carolina. Me being the light-skinned black dude because I got Native American blood in my family, so forth, blah, blah, blah. My hair was straighter, not as coarse.
That good hair.
My skin's lighter.
You ain't got no nappy braids, huh?
I got judged.
I know hair right
I got looked at white and black. I wasn't good enough for white and black. I got talked about being, they used to call me Doodle Brown.
You got a Michael Jackson.
Fuck you. But I'm saying that, like, within our own communities, we are racist to our own people. If their perspective is different from our own,
we don't like it. We challenge it.
Yeah, we challenge it. We ain't black. Oh,
but then see, like, here's the thing though, like, so I like the fact that I should be. The reason why I love coming to talk to these guys is they're not always go against everything they say. It's not like I go against it, but it's like, why not? You know, like, it gives us the conversation for us to talk about things, right?
So I've noticed this. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say this shit. We ain't found out one motherfucking solution. Ain't nobody said
no. We
shit
talking
yet.
about it's the same thing.
Florida had came out and had proposed some solutions. California, we slacking this week, y'all.
No.
We got 5 minutes left.
No, we did though.
We did though, because you can't find a solution without talking about the problem.
You're right.
And the problem there's so many problems within this country. They have to be individually addressed.
We can't put band-aids on this.
I'm gonna leave this week at we need somebody to come up with a checklist on what we're actually fighting for, what would you leave this week at? Never mind. We're gonna start with Anthony.
So, and that's the thing. So, biggest thing on the table is to sit down, and we need to have people from all communities.
Bro, fuck this sit down. Like,
This United Nations, all right. So no, but seriously though. So in my perspective, I think we need to have a sit down at the table of everyone. I want to say it's because.
So who's everyone?
No,
I'm helping him out. I'm helping him cook.
My final thought is we gotta have people of all communities. Black, white, Asian, African, you name it, from other countries, part of the U.S., sit down at the table and talk, because we all know our education system is faulty, can't be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
You learn way more. I have learned so much more. When I was a kid, before I left for the military, I was ignorant because I was told by my family, don't talk to this person, don't date this person. When I joined and got out of that little fucking small social bubble that we do to our own community, our own people, I learned so much more about talking to people. Because my education growing up wasn't the greatest. I learned more when I got out.
Come on now. We got 3 minutes.
So at the end of the day, it's sitting down, having an open discussion, open table talk.
Open table talk, leave your feelings at the door. I like it. I love it. Go ahead. Never mind. Go ahead, Haynes, JT. Y'all go ahead. Go ahead.
All right,
I
go. I'm gonna try to make it as quick as I can. So, I wrote down a couple of notes. So, one of the major things that come up is sacrifices. As Black people, we got to learn to make sacrifices. There's no disrespect to nobody else, but growing up, I seen how people of Latino descent and things like that, they'll pile up, 5, 6 people in a house, make sure everything's straight. The next thing you know, they got 5 houses on the block. So we got to understand the power of the community, collective economics, and peace and harmony. The other thing is, this is going to be the most radical thing I said on this live today. We as Black people got to stop being so humble and so apologetic. If you burn myself down, I will burn you down.
I love it.
You know that. I believe in that. I believe in the eye for an eye. You're not gonna burn my stuff down and say, "I apologize."
You probably want to yours up.
Listen, I'm not gonna play like that. Like, you burn mine down, burn yours down. I agree. We both don't have nothing else. You gonna learn how to burn my stuff down no more. That's me. That's it.
Hey, just to let you say.
No, Haynes, it's your turn.
You know what? You know what? My brother JT said everything I needed to say. I'm leaving it at that. That's my final thought.
Hey, y'all gonna give this nigga 3 minutes, bro? Come on.
No, what I'm trying to say. First,
I'm the real.
If she goes south, I got a huge plantation. You guys can work in the plantation, okay? No, but seriously though, like as she said, right? Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I get that. We have to start knowing that, hey, we got the power. If it comes to margin of power, we have a lot. Let's use what we have. We have to leverage the numbers that we have in this country. And economically, everywhere we have somebody playing a role. Those are the things that we have to use. It's not like we cannot do like this individual thing. We have like I think for now, what is happening is everybody has their own set of things that they want to accomplish. That's why they go and they do this. But if we have a checklist, take everything out one by one. Okay, we got A, we got B, we got C. Things are gonna be straight. Now, if they don't want you in the room, I keep on saying this. They've shown you they don't want you in the room. Build your own room.
Fuck that. Take their whole motherfucking building.
Hey, I like that, but if I said it was I didn't want to say that. But
I don't know. Like I don't, I to inside people in my circle, I like to say, I'm pro-violence. I'm not really pro-violence. I'm pro what the fuck I want. That's what I really am.
Nigga, that's pro-violence.
No, because I'm not necessarily a violent person. I'm just not gonna take your bullshit. And if I can't have it, if I can't have it and you got it,
you want it.
I'm gonna take your.
So how you gonna take it?
Depends if you tap their pockets, nigga. But that's the thing though, is you realize is you got a lot more people that'll roll over before you even got to make them tap them pockets. They see you walking up, they see your face, they see your intent. They already know. All right, look, let me go ahead because I ain't trying to get my ass hit today. So let me just get his shit. So it's kind of like if you already and we already know we got to make you tap them pockets. What the hell we waiting for? Make them tap them pockets. Why are we fucking up our own shit? We need to stop that shit. That's not solving anything. We literally making them feel better about treating us as ignorant as they treat us because we only fuck up our own shit. Let's fuck up their shit then.
So what is your solution? Is to mess up their shit?
No, let's go take their shit. But let's go take it.
That's the thing. You guys see.
Let's go take it. Well, we got to time this hour, bro. It's hour. Hey, so next Tuesday, we're gonna get back on East Coast at 7:30. Over here it's 4:30. Feel free to join in, agree to disagree. I appreciate JT. I appreciate you, Haynes, coming in. I look forward to hoping y'all call in next week too. I want this to be a thing that continues to trickle on. Maybe look, we got 2 viewers right now. Maybe we can get 4 next time. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it. I'll holler at y'all later this week. We also got some private videos, one by one. We're gonna be starting to send out and upload. Especially you, Haynes. You know what to do. I'm gonna chop it up with you. We gotta get that right. All right. So I appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good night.
Disgruntled African.
All right.
They said disgruntled African.